Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the We Were Athletes Once podcast. My name is Kyle Woodring and I am joined by Randall. Say what's up, Randall.
What's up, everybody?
And this week we're talking about week 1 of the NFL preseason. We finally have actual NFL football to talk about. And there was a lot of interesting things that happened throughout these games. We're kind of going to be going through every every game as quick as we can, and we're going to talk about kind of our big takeaways from it. I have a lot of notes to talk about specific players. A lot of them are rookies, but a lot of them are also players that are fighting for roster spots and uh, players that this preseason really is going to be important for them. But right off the bat, Randall, what was your main your big thought on how this week's slate of games went?
Shador Sanders, baby. I think he stole the show of not only his play, the media. I think there was we mentioned last week. There was just a lot of, well, at least I put a lot of pressure on him as far as the injuries went with the Browns quarterback position go and the depth chart and that, and he really came to play. Like as far as if they still got Gabriel hitting him, I'm telling you now, at least he's pushing for that spot. I feel like I like that he performed well. He made throws that were a little shaky, but man, we said last week he's probably one of the top throwers in this draft. As far as arm accuracy, and he showed that. And not only that, I was impressed with escaping the sack. When pressure came, he stayed poised. He stayed under control. He made the throws that honestly, if you followed him from Colorado, he makes. It wasn't nothing surprising. It was just I do feel like given that opportunity, given those reps, I think that's gonna only just help him in that confidence. The quarterback battle has officially begun based off of that week one, in my opinion. I do like. I seen a clip of him that I thought was very good though, as far as going to the sideline. He's having a conversation mic'd up with Miles Garrett, and just asking those questions. Is never was going off to the sideline like on a cockiness, which I think is kind of put on him. And some of that's okay. He's confident in what he does, but getting that advice from Miles Garrett, like, hey, what do you do, on this pass rush on the edge? Like, how do you read the quarterback? Just getting little tips. And when Miles threw that little comment, you know what, man, I'm not gonna hurt you. I ain't gonna show you, how it would feel in practice because we're gonna need you. Just him saying that we're gonna need you lets me know, within that locker room, there's some confidence, there's some trust in Shador. So I feel like, man, he really he didn't surprise people. I think people were happy for him, and I was too. I was happy for a lot of players, but he particular, he backed up, and showed that he's definitely better than a fifth round pick.
Yeah, and obviously, whenever we get to the Browns Panthers game, that's definitely going to be a player that we're going to be talking about a lot. Cody was giving me crap after our last NFL episode came out because I wasn't hard enough on Shador Sanders. He's not a fan. You are a fan. I'm
I'm
somewhere
a
in
fan.
between.
Okay.
Um, and he was dogging on me for not giving Shador Sanders enough crap. But we're gonna be talking about him as we get to that game. So how we're gonna do this basically is we're gonna go through in order of I believe when the games were played, or at least how they're listed on NFL.com.
Okay.
So and then before we do that, I just want to start off by thanking the audience for joining. Obviously, like I've said in every episode, we're still pretty new at this, and we're still trying to get our schedule figured out. We're still trying to, get our consistency there. Obviously, we still haven't really talked at all about NBA or NHL or UFC, but we're starting to bring in our UFC episodes this week. On
That's
Friday,
awesome.
Aaron and I are going to be talking about UFC 319 and a lot of news that came out, I believe, today regarding the pay per view situation and their new TV deal with the UFC.
Yep.
And so, as time goes on, we're going to be getting better with our content. We're going to be getting more consistent, and we're going to be able to have a lot more content. So, if you guys have been joining us through our first 4 episodes, we appreciate you. And be
And we
sure to
do.
keep doing that. Be sure to like our videos, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff that'll, boost us in the algorithm. Just continue to support us how you've been, because it's rough early on whenever you're starting a new podcast. So the support that we have gotten, we're extremely grateful for. If you guys are watching on Spotify, be sure to give us a 5-star review, and do all that stuff. I'm still not super versed on Spotify and everything, but yeah, we appreciate you guys' support. So
We
getting into
do.
these games, the first game we have listed is the Colts and the Ravens, and I'm going to talk about the score and everything. Ravens won 24-16. Score doesn't matter in the preseason games that much. What was the biggest thing that you took away from in the Colts and Ravens?
Oh man, honestly, I didn't like Richardson getting hurt. Uh, Again, it's a QB battle with him and Daniel Jones. This was not the time, to me, wasn't the time to get hurt. I mean, I understand things happen, but when watching that particular play, him getting hurt, I think they did report maybe like a dislocated finger or something along the lines of that. But it was honestly, it was kind of a I'm not a QB, but just kind of looking at it, he didn't read right. He didn't see this person coming, and some of that probably goes to preparation. And I just, man, I worry about Richardson. That right there just kind of let me know, kind of where he's been at. Again, we talked about it a little bit last week. We brought him up, but with his situation last year, man, I just don't think it has rolled over good yet. And maybe a little bit of that has to do with Daniel Jones coming in too, because now, he's number 4 pick last year. And now it's like, hey, we had to bring somebody else in. The confidence is a little shaky. So that that bothered me a little bit because I'm rooting for him. I think he has the pieces to be a really good quarterback. From physique to speed to arm ability. He's a number 1 4 pick for a reason. They've seen something in there. But as far as getting him on track, reading coverages, just discipline in the pocket, knowing when to escape, knowing when to throw, knowing when not to, those type of things. I do think he's been shaken up a little bit, and injuries never help that. So I'll be, excited to see how that goes. Daniel Jones, I mean, he did all right to me. With I don't know necessarily if the Giants compared to last year and then this Colts offense is any much of a difference, but as far as Daniel Jones goes, as far as kind of a trustworthy quarterback, I do feel like he does. I do feel like you can put him in. He's gonna be ready. Is he gonna deliver a win or a playoff a game? I'm not quite there sold on him yet, but I tell you this: with Richardson being up and down, I do like Jones taking that number 1 spot on that depth chart right now to start the season. Now I know there's a couple more preseason games and Richardson can do his thing, but in this QB battle, Daniel Jones is definitely number 1 on that depth chart. Keaton Mitchell had a good running game. I see he ran for a good 68 yards. Ashton Doolin had a good 54 yards. So I mean, Daniel was letting that ball go in that first unit. Now, if you go down a little bit, I do see those Tanner McKee and Aiden O'Connell. Man, they were slinging that thing, man. Like they put up some good numbers. Shedrick Jackson, man, he's pretty good. I didn't know too much about him, but he's good. He's good. He caught my eye on the receiving wise, and I think he'll definitely get some reps on that first team when the season starts, man. But
We'll
on
talk
that
again. We'll
game,
talk
man,
about McKee and them on when we get to the Eagles and game and all that too.
yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure, for sure. Oh, I didn't mean it. Oh, I got you, I got you, Kyle. But yeah, man, that's what got me, man. Ashton Doolin, he really showed, with Daniel, man, they had a nice little connection. I like that connection with those two.
Yeah. Sorry for to anyone watching at home, sorry for the lighting issues that I'm having right now. I'm sitting right in front of a window, and it's almost 7 o'clock in the evening from when we're recording this. So I have a little bit of things that are a little bit of light that's coming in. So I'm gonna try and power through that. Yeah, when it
Sorry.
comes to this Colts and Ravens game, the big story is the quarterback battle. Obviously, Anthony Richardson going down with another injury. That's extremely rough. He only had 3 passes throughout this game. He completed 2 of them, but then like you said, he went down with that finger injury. Looks pretty bad too. I was glad to hear that he got back to practicing on Saturday, and he will be playing next week in their next preseason game against the Packers. But yeah, he when you look at that play, you see, I believe it was Ojabo coming off the edge. And if you look just past him, there was 2 receivers that were wide open, but he was looking towards the left side of the field. And, it's rough to see, him continue to have these problems of, not really having the pocket awareness that you'd like him to have.
Yeah.
Because, he has the physical skills. He just has always seemed like he has like the struggles have shown of not playing a whole lot in college, and he still hasn't played a whole lot in the NFL because of all these injuries. And even if you look at in training camp, he was still coming off of that shoulder injury, which is extremely rough when you are in a quarterback battle, and now you need to be able to play in these games, and your chance that you get to start, you end up leaving with another injury. In terms of what Daniel Jones did, I mean, he was Daniel Jones. End up being 10 of 21 for 144 yards. End up the Colts ended up getting 2 field goals on some of his drives, but they didn't score any touchdowns. You look at that 10 of 21, it's kind of rough considering 4 of those incompletions were drop passes. I believe it was three or four, something like that. Um, but he was Daniel Jones. He was you know doing he was taking what the defense was giving him. He was throwing the underneath passes. He did a pretty good job at throwing in the middle of the field. He didn't really air it out all that much, but I think there was quite a bit of run after catch on those passes that he was making. And yeah, I would agree with you. Daniel Jones probably looks like the starter for that team right now, which, it's rough with, again, the draft capital that you put on Anthony Richardson being the 4th overall pick.
Yeah.
And, you see the potential that you have with Richardson, but he needs to be able to stay on the field in order to see that potential come through.
I agree. I
In
agree.
terms of the Ravens, you talked about Keaton Mitchell. He looked really good in that first preseason game. I think a lot of that comes through the offensive line, and
Oh yeah.
the big player that I got a lot out of from this preseason game was Andrew Voorhees. He was a 7th round pick in 2023. Didn't play at all last year, I don't think, because he tore his ACL at the
Hmm.
combine in 2023. And right now he's competing with Ben Cleveland for that starting left guard spot. And he looked really good in both the run game and the pass game. He's a really aggressive offensive lineman, and when he's able to work his leverage like he needs to, he looks like a starting caliber offensive lineman. So
Yeah.
he's kind of the big guy that I
He's a big boy too.
took a lot out of from that. Yeah, I really liked him when he was at USC, and it was really tough to see him go down with an injury like that
Right.
at the combine. Um, but I think he might finally get his shot this year, which is good to see.
Yeah. I was a little disappointed in the quarterback play of the Ravens. I feel like that's a position with Lamar, and his style of play. Just injuries, never wishing on anybody, but with his style of play, I do feel like that backup, should definitely be ready to go. And also within comfortable and confident. And Devin Leary and Cooper Rush, they both didn't perform well to me. They both had a pick. You got Devin Leary who threw 3 for 12. I mean, so really didn't push the ball down the field. I mean, they had to get it to Keaton, or looks like Dearness Johnson. They ran the ball. I mean, and hey, Ravens aren't known for really being a passing organization in that regard. I know they like hard nosed running and rely on that defense. I understand that, but as far as putting points on the board in case injury, like anything like that ever did come about, I don't feel like Cooper and Leary are. I don't feel like they can really do that. That let me know, like, if Lamar did go down, they will definitely have to rely on that defense to keep the score down for sure.
Yeah. I mean, if Lamar is getting hurt, you're always going to be in trouble. Like that's the guy that
That's
this
true.
Ravens
That's
team is
true.
going to need
Yeah.
in order to be successful, especially with how this AFC North is looking this year.
Yeah.
Like I guess I think the Steelers are going to be pretty good. The Bengals are going to be good. And we're actually going to be talking about the Bengals next because they played the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles end up winning that game 34-27. And that offense is going to be the big key to the Bengals' success.
Right.
And I especially look at that interior offensive line because
Ooh.
it wasn't that good last year.
It wasn't. Yeah.
And they got a lot out of Dylan Fairchild in this game. He was a third round pick this past year out of Georgia. And, he ended up giving Joe Burrow a lot of time when it comes to his pass protection. He looked good in the run game too.
Yeah.
And, you think about how good this Bengals passing offense is, and you think about how good Chase Brown was running the ball last year. If they can get something out of this interior offensive line with Dylan Fairchild, they also have, Ted Karras and Lucas Patrick that are going to be in that interior as well. Uh, it This could be a good enough offense for, as much as we talk about the Bengals defensive struggles, it could be a good enough offense to get them to win 9 games, 10 games, whatever it's going to take to at least be a wild card team in
Agreed.
this NFC.
Agreed. I know. I totally agree with you on that. The running game does, I do have a question mark on that, but to your point, with that offensive line improving this year, I do think that will help. I don't really see that, with the game and the stats, they definitely didn't run the ball that much, with Taj Brooks, 2.6 yards a carry. Chase Brown, 4.6 yards a carry, five carries, 23 yards. So let's, really didn't focus so, highly on that, which is a little surprising. But I mean, why would you, man, when you got Joe and Chase, man, they just, man, they look so on sync, man. I mean, like, their rhythm is just so, it's just, man, I was impressed with that. I did catch a little bit of that first quarter, and I was just like, man, like, those two are on it. Higgins didn't really, I don't he didn't really do much, but man, with Chase and Burrow, man, I was impressed. And to your point with that offensive line, Burrow has enough time, man, to make the right reads and make the right throws. I agree with everything you said, man. If that offensive line can stay, if they can get even better, and then the Bengals establish a little bit mix of a running game, play action. Oh man, dude, they're gonna be they're they're gonna be putting up a lot of points.
Yeah, I'm surprised they played Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase
Man, me too. I
early
was
on.
too.
Normally, with guys like that, you'd like to see, especially with a quarterback receiver that played for a couple years together now,
Right.
you'd like to see them, you know, maybe sit this one out.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh yeah.
but they played well, and they were able to at least show their fans something.
Oh yeah, and Tanner
Um,
Hudson. Tanner Hudson let me know too. He's going to be a nice little option if Higgins and Chase. He's just another receiver out there. He played well too, man. He had good two TDs. Had a nice end zone catch, man. That was really impressive, man. He caught my eye too. As far as just the weapons on the outside, I see with the Bengals. they're gonna be good offensively, and I do think they need that defense worries me just a little, but it's almost like you're so top heavy with offense. I do think they're rolling with their offense to win some games. However, we know defense wins championships.
Yeah, and then in terms of the Eagles side, you talked a little bit about Tanner McKee. He looked really good. He was, on time throwing the football. He was willing to attack down the field. Um, whenever you're looking at that quarterback depth chart behind Jalen Hurts, you don't really know who's going to be that guy to
Right.
be the backup. You have McKee competing with rookie Kyle McCord and Dorian Thompson Robinson, who they just got from the Browns.
Yeah.
Um, Tanner McKee looks like the guy that's probably going to end up taking that backup spot. So
Yeah.
good for him. Unfortunate part of this past week for the Eagles is Landon Dickerson. Obviously, have to talk about him. During practice, he ended up getting carted off with a knee injury. It appears as though he won't miss a whole lot of time. He's week to week right now with a meniscus injury, but it seems like
Mhm.
it's still intact. And week to week is really nice to hear compared to
Yeah.
what
Heck yeah.
what you're thinking whenever you're carting a guy off.
Yes.
As for what's behind him, they have Kenyon Green, who didn't really look all that great when he was with the Texans. He was a former first round pick, but last year he came to Philadelphia and he seemed like he played pretty well for the playing time that he got. And then they also have Matt Pryor, who's a really good pass blocker in the interior. Got him from the Bears last year. So, I
And
at the
Kenyon
end of the
Green
day.
got hurt. He's hurt. He's dealing with a shoulder injury.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
I didn't even see that.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so you hope whenever it comes to Landon Dickerson, he won't miss a whole lot of time, if any. But when it comes to the Eagles, they know how to coach up their offensive linemen, and the offensive line is super important for them. So hopefully, if he does miss a little bit of time, they can figure it out with what they have behind him.
Oh, totally agree, man. With what the Eagles do, a key piece like that definitely is a major hole in that offensive line with the way Hurts plays and the way you got Saquon. Just their offense. So it kind of does let me know too. If there's a gap on that offensive line of Dickerson's magnitude, it's up to Hurts. I mean, it's a team, don't But I want to see what Hurts does. Because I know. They're going to be coming after him. They smell blood. So I want to see how Hurts, delivers quicker in the pocket, his decision making. I want to see it. But, at that end, they also may not rely on that first instance. They may say, hey, we're just going to pound the ball to the other side of and let Saquon do him. So I'm glad, like you mentioned, hey, week to week is a lot better. That's good news. That's good news.
Yeah, so we're gonna move on to the next game. It's gonna be the Raiders and the Seahawks, and this was a game that actually ended in a tie because the preseason sucks. But uh, no, they just want to make sure everyone gets their reps, gets in, gets out, and doesn't get injured.
Right.
Uh, but when it comes to the Raiders and Seahawks, big thing that kind of stuck out to me is the fact that last year the Seahawks interior offensive line, kind of like the Bengals, their interior offensive line wasn't very good,
Hmm.
and it seems like they have kind of started to shore that up a little bit.
Yeah.
First round pick last year, Gray Zabel, had a really poor first rep in that game. He kind of got pushed off the offensive line a little bit. But after that, he played really well in pass protection. Their center, Olu Oluwatimi, he has seemed to play pretty well throughout training camp, and I believe he played in this game. Right now, it looks like it says he's dealing with some sort of injury. But if these young guys can be able to step up, the Seahawks offense might be able to do something.
Oh no, I like that too. I do think they would be able to. Drew Lock, um, him being over in Seattle. I honestly I didn't know they picked him up, man, but I thought that was a good pickup for them, especially with George Alani. I think George Alani's a good pound the ball football running back. So with Drew not having to be so um, it kind of he kind of that this squad kind of reminds me a little of that Broncos offense. If I'm not mistaken, Drew, that's who he's with last year, right? He's with the Broncos.
Not last year. He was with the Broncos for the first, I believe, 3 years of his career, and then he
Gotcha.
went the Seahawks, and then he was with the Giants last year, and now he's
Giants.
with the
Now he's
Seahawks.
back with Seahawks. Seahawks. So that lets us know something. They see something. Thought he played okay. He had that interception. So that decision making. And I've known him. His decision making has been always a little shaky to me. I wish he could get a little bit out of the pocket. I wish he was a little bit more mobile. Um, you know, especially with that offensive line. But I thought he did all right. 12 for 22, 147. So he's getting that ball down the field. He spread it out amongst those receivers. Um, so I am excited, to see kind of how they do. They are a wild card. You can't count the Seahawks out. This you just they just have that organization. Marshawn Lynch had me laughing. He kind of stole the show for me. Just his energy on the sideline, man. So that was cool. And as far as the Raiders go, man, Aiden O'Donnell. He was a little shaky with the two interceptions. That quarterback play, Geno Smith over there, I was surprised Geno didn't get a little bit more reps, but I take it, they may be looking at Geno as a starter, starting that first game of the season. I would like to, see him probably get a little bit more reps with him being, first year with the Raiders. I just, first time, with the new team, and I get it, injuries and that things happen, but I would like to see more just more reps, getting that camaraderie with a new team, new coaching. I would have liked to see a little bit more from him, but again, something like a team like them too. If he goes down, I'm not too sure with the quarterback play. So that's always a concern. And then you got to get to. Their defense, man. Michael Barrett, man. Michael Barrett, he was an animal. As far as getting his tackles, he had a nice 5 tackles on the night. I liked him at Michigan. I got some family that's Michigan fans, so I knew a little bit about him. But so I'm excited to see if he can get some high reps and just get better as the season goes on. Playing at that linebacker position. I do think this year the defense will probably have to hold that Raiders team up. I do think they're defense heavy and need some work on the offensive side of the ball for sure.
Yeah, and I mean specifically with their offensive line, was really, really struggling throughout this game, and that's why I'm kind of glad they didn't really play Geno all that much.
Okay, makes point. That's true. That's true.
Yeah, like I said, you need Geno there. And if you look at the Seahawks, like you said, you've been talking about Drew Lock, but they didn't. I don't believe they even played Sam Darnold at all, who's
No.
new there too. Uh, when it comes to things that I liked about, or things I liked and things I didn't like about the Raiders, we're talking about the offensive line. Um, they are a big reason why Ashton Genty didn't really perform well at all.
Mm,
Didn't play a whole lot because again he's going to be a starter there, but
right.
had 3 carries, end up with -1 yard. Even though he did that, he still didn't look bad. He, made a man miss in the backfield, but it still ended up going for a loss. And then their rookies on offense in general didn't really perform that well. Dante Thornton is a big wide receiver with a lot of speed. He's supposed to be slotting in as probably wide receiver 3 over in Vegas, and he just had a lot of issues with separation and everything. But when you're talking about a guy who's 6'5", I believe he's 230, and he runs a 4.3 40, um, they're gonna give him every chance they can to succeed.
Yeah.
Another thing that really caught my eye though when it comes to this game was Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams is playing linebacker for the first time, and he kind of played linebacker in my opinion when he was playing safety.
Yeah.
But he, looked really good in the run defense game. He ended up doing a really good job at shedding blockers.
Hmm.
He's kind of transitioning to a new point in his career, giving it doing whatever he can in order to extend his NFL career. And him moving to linebacker, he might get quite a bit of playing time with the Raiders.
I agree. I agree with that. I agree with that. They're lacking in that, and you're right, man. I didn't even think of that. That could definitely prolong his career, switching over to linebacker for sure.
Yeah, so we're gonna be moving on to the next game, and it's the game that you're obviously most excited to talk about. This is the Browns and the Panthers. Browns end up winning this game 30-10, and you kind of talked a little bit about Shador, so I'll take give what I took from his performance.
What you got?
I mean, he I think he played well. I think he played exactly how you'd expect Shador to play.
Okay.
He kind of he was for the most part he was accurate. He missed a couple throws that he probably shouldn't have missed, but
Right.
this is a rookie in his first preseason game, uh, kind of getting his feet wet a little bit. I do think he kept the ball too long in a couple different instances. I think about there was one play where he ended up getting a 1 yard loss on a play that he was just running away from the defensive line in the backfield, and he basically went sideline to sideline just to get a 1 yard loss. Like, you got to throw that ball away. Um, but he looked comfortable with the play action for the most part. He was able to handle the blitz pretty well. And do think he managed the game pretty well. I think
Yeah.
there are just some things that he needs to work on whenever it comes to, uh, whenever it comes to making those decisions a little bit better. And I think he even said that after the game. Like, he knows this wasn't the best performance possible, but I do think he played well enough, especially considering what the Browns have at quarterback. Um, as for the Browns on defense, Carson Schwessinger, that's going to be a name that I'm going to have trouble pronouncing just because I'm wanting to throw an extra H in there. Carson Schwessinger. Uh, I mean, he looked really good, and he's going to need to step up in this Browns linebacking core with Jordan Hicks retiring and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah being out for the year with an injury. This is going to be a young linebacking core, and they're going to need to have this guy step up. So being able to see him have a good performance, uh, you'll love to see that. And then on the Panthers side, I think the Panthers edge rush looked really good, especially Nick Scorton. Again, he's a guy that you want to be able to dream on something with him. And the Panthers didn't have a good edge rush last year, and it
No.
seemed like everyone really did a good job at getting some pressure on these Browns quarterbacks. And Nick Scorton really led the way with that. And I
I
also look at Bryce Young, Bryce Miller. I'm still in baseball mode. Uh, Bryce Young looked good. He had a really good uh, go ball earlier in the game to Tedero McMillan. And he had another one that he was able to drop between two defenders that McMillan dropped. But he had good pocket presence. He made plays with his legs. He's
Yep.
starting to look like the guy that the Panthers thought they were getting when they drafted him with that first overall pick.
I agree. I think one of his biggest things is something that's out of his control, which is height. It's a little bit tougher on those shorter quarterbacks. So I think that's just a challenge, especially with the athletes today. But I agree with you with Bryce, man. I know with the way they drafted him last year was just it was tough, and so I agree with you with that when it came to Bryce. I thought he played good too, but that also makes me think of Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton, you being a seasoned vet. Has extremely amount of experience. I thought that was a good pickup for them for being I do think he'll probably start as a backup, but with the way I'm rooting for Bryce, but again, I just like the management of that depth chart. I like the fact that they went and got a quarterback like Andy, to stay competitive, and as well as just a veteran that I think honestly is going to be able to help Bryce being able to succeed and get better. Because one thing that decision making as a shorter quarterback and just those throws, and being aware, it comes with reps and comes with experience, but having that backup, I think, of an Andy Dalton caliber is going to help him. Somebody that also, and I'm sorry, but I was wanting to talk to you about on the Brown side, on the defensive side, that caught my eye was the rookie defensive end, Aiden Huntington. And the reason why it caught my eye, man, because I didn't know, playing that defensive end position, he's one of the smaller guys. It's 6 foot defensive end, and I was like, man, like that's also good, as far as on the other side potentially of Garrett, having another edge rusher on that side. But he did good getting to the quarterback. He had five total solo tackles, had a sack, had a forced fumble, so he gets after it. So I will be, I think that will be good on the Browns side, on the defensive side, to where if you can get another edge rusher, not putting everything on Miles coming on that side and kind of fool the offense a little bit. That'll be good for the Browns. And another thing on the Panthers side, I was not happy with Jimmy Horn. I don't know, man. I don't know if coverage. I don't know. I didn't like his performance. I had high expectations for him. I think he's a very speedy, small, get after type of receiver. He kind of has an old school Steve Smith style game. He has that potential to be like that. But I do think he's going to definitely have to watch film. He's going to have to see how he's being played. He's going to have to definitely get that connection with Young and Dalton, and get better at getting open, because he has the wheels and he has great hands. So I'm looking forward to see a lot more from him.
Yeah, I think as and again, it's the first preseason game.
For sure.
Hoping for these guys, they're uh, going to be able to do better as they get more experience. But
There you go.
uh, yeah, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next game. We have the Patriots versus the Commanders, and the Patriots ended up on the scoreboard. They dominated this game. It was 48-18. And the big guy that caught my eye on this Patriots team is their first round pick, Will Campbell.
Hmm.
He looked really good in the passing game, really good in the rushing game. And when it comes to these guys that are you know I'm trying to find the right word, because I was about to say dirty or nasty players. They're not dirty players, but just tough, hard nosed players
Right.
that Mike Vrabel really likes in on his teams. Will Campbell is a guy that he's going to get after it. There was a play uh, that he had throughout this game where he was pulling and he almost put ended up being put on a DB and ended up almost pushing him into the stands. It seemed like,
Yeah.
but I think they got a guy in Will Campbell trying to protect Drake May's blind side.
Agreed.
I
Agreed.
also look at Travion Henderson. He looked really explosive in both the run game and the return game. You saw that 100-yard return that he had. But it wasn't all Patriots. I really liked what the corners looked like for the Commanders. I think Trey Amos, he's a rookie. He ended up playing pretty well. Noah Igbenogany looks like he can be a guy that can step up in a starting role for the Commanders. And they also have Mike Sanderstill, who he was a really important piece on that national championship team with Michigan, and He's looking to be able to step up and be a big part of this Commanders defense this year. The obviously the Patriots end up taking the majority of the attention from this game, but I do think there was a lot of good coming from the Commanders as well.
Man, and I don't know why, but I didn't. I thought this was just a bad performance from them, man. Just coming off
I
the
mean,
success.
you let go 48 points. Like you try to find as much good as you can, but
That's
they did let go
true.
48 points.
No. That's true. That's true, man. That's totally true, man. And Demetric Felton, as far as running the ball, I think he'll definitely need to. They'll have to rely on that running game for sure, man. We don't really know what's going on with McClurkin yet, so I do think style of play is going to have to change up a little bit for Washington going forward this year. I want to see a little bit more on the running game. I tell you, but I like the like kind of as far as Ben Woodridge. Didn't know too much about him out of Louisiana, but I tell you, he played pretty good. Him and I know he won't get over Drake May, but as far as that second, I do definitely see him climbing up second string and really taking over. He played good. Taller quarterback, 6'2", can see above, threw 9 for 1,232 yards, threw a TD, passer rating 138. I just thought, all the way around, man. The Patriots, they do what they kind of had a habit of they're getting back to what they get back to, and that defense. I think they rely heavy on defense. Craig Woodson, Truman Jones, and Marcus Epps. So they got pieces back also from last year too. That experience is going to help that defensive side of the ball. So the Patriots, man, I'm gonna keep my eye on them this year. As far as just Drake May, he's a bad boy. I do think he's got a big year coming up. The offensive line is young, but they're big. The Patriots. I did not expect, and I know you said it, from first game, first preseason game, but it was just like, man, all cylinders from Woodridge all the way down to the other what's his name, Joshua Dobbs. I know he didn't do much, but as far as there was a sense of confidence about the Patriots from start to finish in that game. I do feel like. Maybe the Commanders were just throwing, seeing what they have out there. I know they didn't play a lot of their starters, but it's always exciting to see as far as a young team like the Commanders, contract issues going on. You got the hot quarterback with Daniels. I just wanted to see more of a hunger making that 53-man roster, man, for sure. But you're right. You got to take some good with the bad with the Commanders. But I would be lying if I said I wasn't disappointed.
Yeah. You know, the Commanders are going to be a team that's going to be fighting for a playoff spot.
Agreed.
Hope
Agreed.
that they can end up figuring everything out, especially with. I don't think they're. I think a lot of that came from their front seven not looking very good. Their safeties didn't really look very good, but their corners end up showing something. So at least there was that.
Right.
So next we're going to move to a game that kind of ended on a sour note. The Lions and the Falcons. The Lions ended up winning that game 17-10, but they only played three quarters because Maurice Norris he ended up getting taken off the field on an ambulance because of what was reported as a neck injury, and you never want to hear that, especially in a game that doesn't really matter.
For
Um,
sure.
it seems like he's gonna be okay. Ended up having a concussion, but he's in the hospital. He's in stable condition right now.
Yeah. Those type of things always are scary, man, especially the way it looks on the ground, with the shaking and just, almost as though it's like a seizure out there. You just don't know what's going on out there, man. So that's definitely scary. And man, definitely prayers to him, man, that he gets better and gets back on the field. And just the way he got, and, I don't know if you've seen it, but just the way he did get ran over and the way his neck snapped back, man, it was pretty nasty, man, on that regard. Man, I did tell you though, man, the Falcons defense was fast. They got off the ball quick, man. That front line, man, was after it, man. Compared to last year, they made extremely amount of upgrades on the defensive side of the ball. I think that's definitely going to help them, especially on turf. So, man, I'm excited to see if the Falcons can push definitely for a playoff spot. Um, Backup, QB play, Easton Stick. Um, as far as being thrown out there, being a what's this? He's a no, he was a fifth round pick back in 19. I didn't really wasn't really too caring about him. I went to Western Illinois, and so I heard during 2018 and 19. When I was going there, man, there was a lot of people. There were Western Illinois is in North Dakota's conference, and there was a lot of buzz about this guy coming there, and I didn't go to the game, and it's like, man, this guy's going to NFL, and I'm like, man, I don't believe it, and he ended up did going. So when I did read his name in the box score, I was like, oh man, like I missed it out. That dude did make it, man. So that was cool and exciting to see him out there. But again, man, I mean, the offense is their offense, but I was more impressed with the defense, man. The defense of the edge, the just getting to the quarterback. I do feel like if the Falcons, man, if their defense along, can match that offense with Pickens, man, I think that they'll be fighting for a playoff spot. I'm not really sure about their offensive line. That's a question mark for me when it comes to the Falcons. Detroit, again, we talked about Morris. That was nasty. That can always hurt the locker room in a way. Something like that, but also it can also boost the locker room. You're gonna. And I think he'll be fine. Morris will be fine, but I just think those type of injuries, man, it can get the focus shifted a little bit. And Detroit has a run in them, and I just think like in order for them to really get out that NFC North, man, and they're gonna have to bring it this year. They're gonna have to stay healthy. They're gonna have to be on top of their game, man, to make that playoff Super Bowl run.
Yeah, and you talked a lot about the Falcons defense. I think that was the big takeaway that I got too, especially from their defensive line. Their defensive line was not good last year,
Yeah.
and you look at what they were able to do against the Lions' offensive line that you know is pretty good. I don't believe they played a whole lot of their starters, but I mean Arnold Ebiketie and Brandon Dorlus both had three pressures and a sack each.
Yeah.
Defensive tackle Rukaroro had three pressures. James Pierce had three pressures coming off the edge. Jalen Walker played good run defense off the edge. This and they put a lot of draft capital into their defensive line too.
They
So
needed to.
the fact that they're seeing that come to fruition is really good to see for again a team that you last year you didn't necessarily expect them to do a whole lot. This year they're being able to take a step forward, hopefully.
Yeah, I think that'll help. I think knowing that Penix is going to be starter, there's not really a competition with him and Cousins this year. I think that'll help too. I think last year them kind of drafting that quarterback with Penix, and then you already signed Kirk Cousins. I just think there was just a lot of confusion, and I like Kirk at the second option on there. I think he's a starter, but he can also be a good backup too. So I'm excited to see how that pans out. I think Penix is a little bit more versatile right at this point. So yeah, if that offense honestly can put some points up on the board and allow that defense to do their thing, man, Falcons they're gonna be a team to watch out for.
Yeah, and as for the Lions, I was looking at Tate Ratledge. He's a guy that is going to be competing for a starting spot on that interior offensive line. He's normally a bit better as a pass blocker, but he looks pretty good in the run game.
Hmm.
Uh, and I look at the quarterback play from the Lions. It it seemed like the Lions really wanted Hendon Hooker to be the backup quarterback this year for them,
Yeah.
but Kyle Allen played really well, and he's a veteran. He's been around a lot. he's played a lot of football in his career,
Yeah.
and he's seen a lot of things, and he's probably taken over that the lead in the clubhouse for that
Yeah.
backup quarterback spot.
I agree. I agree.
Moving on to the next game, we have the Giants and the Bills. The Giants end up winning this game 34-25. What did you get from this game, Randall?
The Giants, man, that quarterback room's a heck of a room, boy. I tell you that. That definitely it's good though. I tell you, it's good for Dart. I feel like Dart definitely he showed out as far as the quarterbacks went. I did like the Russell. Looks like they're starting out Russell with that first team. Um, I don't know how I really feel about that. I don't think it'll end up like that as the season goes on. I just don't. I do feel like Russell's days are turning in definitely to a backup. Kind of in that Kirk Cousins kind of area of quarterback play. Um, but Jason Dart, he impressed me. I wasn't too on him, but he's showing me as far as pocket presence, decision making. He has an arm on him. He threw 12 for 19, 154. Him, James Winston, Tommy DeVito, man, they all threw touchdowns. So I think Russell Wilson raises the bar for them in that quarterback room for their play, which is good, especially for Dart. I think he's going to be able to learn a lot with the veteran quarterback in there. Um, Jameis Winston will be a good lot, he's good on that quarterback room. So I was definitely more impressed with Dart. That defensive line, the defensive line and secondary on the Giants probably going to need some help. Um, I wasn't very impressed with that. It just looks like across the league, man. That that defensive line, offensive line, man. If you're gonna you gotta be on your stuff, man. To, kind of have success within the NFL right now. That's always been like that, but it just comes off a little different now. They're bigger, they're faster, stronger. So. I do feel like drafting wise, you do see a lot more going after the D line and O lines, and New York Giants going forward. I do think we'll see draft or trades going towards secondary and that defensive line to help them out a little bit because I think they'll be able to put up some points, but that defense is definitely shaky.
I don't know. I like the Giants defense.
You do?
I like the Giants edge rushers specifically. Abdul Carter, he was the third overall pick. He didn't play
Yep.
a whole lot in this game, but what he did in this game in his short time,
Okay.
he made an impact. He had, I believe, 6 snaps, and he only had 3 pass rush snaps. And
Mm.
in those snaps, he had 3 pressures. Like he looked like, and he was playing against Deion Dawkins too, who's a starting tackle on
Starter.
the
Yeah.
team. Uh, he Abdul Carter looks legit. And you pair him up with Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns, and maybe their interior defensive line could use a little bit of help. But even then, they have Dexter Lawrence as that nose tackle, shoring up the middle of that defensive line. I think the Giants' pass rush is going to be nasty this year.
Mm.
In terms of their offense, obviously, whenever you're talking about a first round rookie quarterback, you have to really take a look at that.
Pump the
Um,
brakes.
and I was a fan of Jackson Dart when he was at Ole Miss. I did think he was probably the second best quarterback in this draft, and second or third. And he looked like kind of like Shador. He looked like Jackson Dart at Ole Miss.
Mm.
He threw well outside the numbers, made plays with his legs. Something that he needs to work on is accuracy over the middle and being
Yeah.
able to read that zone coverage. But you talked about what he did in this game. I was I was impressed by what he did. Again, I think he needs to work on the little things, but I think he's also going to have the chance to do that because I don't think he's going to really play much at all this year. I think they're planning on going in this season with Russell Wilson as their starter, and I imagine
Yeah.
Jameis Winston is probably going to be the backup, and they're just going to focus on development this year for Jackson Dart.
Develop them up. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also liked the pass rush that the Bills had. I mean, you're adding, you know, Deion Walker and T.J. Sanders. Both these guys are rookies. You're adding that to, you know, a defensive line that it has Joey Bosa, it has Ed Oliver. You know, you're even looking at the depth guys like Greg Rousseau and AJ Epinesa. I think the Bills' offensive line is gonna really be able to do a lot. Or defensive line is gonna be able to do a lot too. As for the Bills on offense, you know, you would like to have James Cook involved in this offense.
Of
Obviously,
course.
he's dealing with, I believe he's dealing with a contract situation right now. He's not really playing, or not really planning on playing that much, I don't think, until for this preseason. But, you know, you look at the guys that are behind him. You know, Ray Davis, Ty Johnson, I believe, is the other guy that's behind him. They both look good today, or in this game, as well as Frank Gore Jr. He looked
Yeah.
really good too. So, you know, you want James Cook to be able to be that guy and be able to play, but again, he's also on a contract year, um, and I think they have a lot of good things going behind him.
Yep.
Um, so next we're going to go to the Texans and the Vikings. The Vikings end up winning this game 20-10, and you know, again, we're he's not a rookie, but you're talking about a first round quarterback with JJ McCarthy.
Yeah.
Didn't play a whole lot, but you know, you're talking about a guy who hasn't played football in a year. Uh, he,
Meniscus.
yeah, he's you know he's getting his feet wet with playing, and again, he looks like he did well in the things that we knew he was going to be able to do well in. He was really good in the play action. You know, he had a little bit of issues with his ball placement at times. His accuracy wasn't the best, but you know, again, he only had 7 passing attempts. He was 4 of 7 for 30 yards. You don't have Justin Jefferson playing in this game. You don't have a lot of the offensive skill players that he's going to be relying on playing this game. He did have Jordan Addison just because he's not going to be playing for the first 3 games of the regular season. But
Right.
yeah, I you'd like to see more from JJ McCarthy, but also again, this is his first live game action in a year. He looked good in his preseason game that he played last year, but you just have to be patient with this guy.
You got to be. No, no, I totally agree, man. I was definitely happy to see him back out there, McCarthy. As far as missing last year, it was good to see him just get his feet wet, like you said. Confidence on an injury like that, is it's important. I was definitely happy to see him back out there. I'm a little nervous with the wide receiver group over there in Minnesota. Looks like they had Rondale Moore. They signed him this offseason from Atlanta last year, but it looks like he's going to be out with a serious knee injury. So just another receiver that's going to be down. That could help Jefferson over there. So I'll be keeping my eye out on that side. When it came to the Texans, Davis Mills, because of course they set out C.J. Stroud, they set him down. Man, I was impressed with his marching down the field. Man, he showed confidence. He showed poise in the pocket. He made some good reads, some good throws. 74 yards in 10 plays, 14-yard touchdown to Braxton Berrios. Which is going to be he's going to definitely help that receiving core too, because again, kind of similar to Minnesota, with Diggs over there, and coming off of his ACL. Houston's definitely going to need some help on the on the receiving side. So I'll be, definitely seeing how injury, goes with Houston and Stroud uh, forgive me his name. I just said his name. Houston? What's the receiver's name?
Nico Collins.
Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs. I really would like to see them all
Stephon Diggs is in
healthy.
New England now.
He did get traded from. He got traded
He,
from Houston. He got hurt.
he
He
signed.
got traded. Got
He
hurt. And
signed to
signed in New England. Yes,
yeah.
sir. Oh well, that's even worse, Kyle. Even worse with Houston, man. I mean, that receiving side, man, that's hurting Stroud, man. That's going to be tough. Now with Mixon over there on the running game, that's gonna definitely take some pressure off. But man, I was under my whole impression. Diggs was still there, man. That's gonna hurt. But I like Collins over there. Collins will definitely take that number one receiving spot over there and get some reps with Stroud. Um, again, and I know this is always first preseason game, but man, and you're gonna correct me, man, but I'm like I just want more reps with the starters, man. And I know these guys, these rookies are getting there. They gotta get the spot. They got to, but it's on certain teams. I just wish I seen more. That's all, man. I may be selfish.
Yeah, I understand it. Again, you also have to make sure these guys don't get injured in games that don't
That's
matter.
for sure. That's for
Um,
sure.
Whenever it comes to uh, something else that really stuck out to me in this game was the offensive line play for both teams. Because I really liked the offensive line play for the Vikings. The Vikings have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL,
Yeah.
and then you're adding like Joe Huber was a guy that really stuck out to me. He looked like a nice, he's an undrafted free agent trying to make the team. Looks like a nice addition to an already stacked Vikings offensive line.
Yep.
But I need to see more from the Texans offensive line. I
Hmm.
mean, they had, Laramie Tunzel last year, who's an all pro caliber left tackle, and they were still, one of the worst offensive line cores in the NFL. And
Yeah.
now you don't have Tunzel, and everyone on their offensive line looked bad. And, when you're talking about CJ Stroud taking a step back last year,
Yeah.
and, you don't know what you're going to, or when Joe Mixon is going to be ready to play again because he's out right now.
Yeah.
And, his backup right now is Nick Chubb, who he's had his own injury issues and isn't the most explosive anymore after that knee injury. Um, you know, you you need this offensive line to be able to perform and be able to protect, these guys that are playing behind them.
Yeah.
And you talked about the Texans receiving core also having a lot of question marks. They have Nico Collins, but then behind him, they just picked up Christian Kirk. They have Jaden Higgins. They have John Mechie. Uh, you know, Braxton Berrios, Xavier Hutchinson. They're, they've got players that can be good, but you
Yeah.
don't really want to be able to rely on them.
All right, totally agree. Another note I took though, man, was the cornerback for Minnesota, uh, 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 He- uh, Khalif. Can't pronounce his last name. I know he had two interceptions in that game, and that was big. Third season out of Western Kentucky, 6'1", 194 cornerback, good size. Minnesota's defense. That to me is going to be a game changer for them to win ball games, especially in that NFC North, to being able to have being able to lock down some receivers, and I think he'll probably be their number one or number two, lockdown corner on that team. So that'll definitely help take pressure off of that offense if they can get stops on defense.
Yeah, I believe he's a guy that is kind of going to be fighting for reps a little bit because he
He's gonna be
has.
fighting.
So he's a safety. Actually, he might be. I
He's a
mean,
That's a tall
Josh,
safety.
Joshua Metellus is their starter right now. I believe he's kind of locked in as their starter.
As a safety or as corner?
As a safety. As the corner, he definitely wouldn't be able to get time because they have
That's
Byron Murphy, they have Isaiah Rogers, they have Jeff Okuda, and they have Blackman playing behind him. Uh,
I'm hoping he gets a spot,
but
man,
he
just to
looked he
help that.
looked really good.
Yeah.
Um, so we're gonna be moving on to the next game from that, and that's gonna be the Steelers and the Jaguars. The Steelers end up winning that game 31-25, and I think there were a lot of eyes on this game
There was.
because of Travis Hunter.
Yep.
And I don't even necessarily think it was what the numbers were going to look like or what he was able to do. in this game, but it was more what the usage was going to look like.
Agreed.
And that he ended up playing 19 snaps in this game. He played 11 at wide receiver. He's considered the wide receiver 2 right now on the Jaguars depth chart, and he played 8 snaps on defense, and he's considered, I believe, the 4th corner on there. So he's a first team receiver. He's a second team corner, and he kind of didn't look great on either part.
I agree.
I think he had 2 catches for 9 yards, had a couple catches underneath, and he missed a couple tackles, didn't do great in the open field whenever it came to him on defense. But I think Travis Hunter is a guy that you have to be extra patient with, because it's hard to figure things out as a receiver in your first NFL action. It's hard to figure things out as a corner in your first NFL action. Being able to know how to do both,
Mm-hmm.
which he's going to be primarily a wide receiver for the Jaguars, but if you're going to try and do both with him, then you're going to have to be patient.
I totally agree. And before I even touch on him, man, I think, what I took away from it was Cam Little, the kicker. That 70-yard kick, that's game changer, man. The way defenses are gonna have to play him, or the way defenses are gonna have to play in order to, like, field positioning, because he's going to be able to, definitely get 3 on the board. If he can get, if he's knocking out a 70, anywhere from 66 to 70. So that was cool, man. I hope they'll give him a chance during the regular season to get the record, because I think the record's is 66, 67, something like
Yeah.
that. That was cool. I thought that kind of took the show for me, because I agree with you, man. Travis, I do think, he's gonna probably. We got to remember this. At the end of the day, if he plays corner, and because honestly, they didn't have many targets his way though, so they are respecting his skills, his ball skills, but at the same time, if he plays corner, they got to remember that he's a receiver. So just to your point, being patient, but if he's able to grasp it, man, he will be probably one of the first, dual threats out there, offensive defense. And it's just me personally, from his size perspective, I like him better at corner. It's cool that he has wide receiver skills, feet work, and hands, but his build, and just right now, I'm not a fan of. I think he's good at getting the ball then going, but as far as creating that separation and like end zone deep threat, I'm not sold on that yet. I like him. He's kind of got once he gets the ball, he can create yardage, and that screams to me. That screams potential injury. Just the way that play style will be.
Yeah, I think they'd be better with him just picking one side of the ball and sticking with that. Um, yeah, Cam Little, that kick was ridiculous. That if it was regular season, that would have broken the NFL record for longest field goal by 4 yards. And even then, I think I saw something saying it would have been good from like 77 or something like that. Like, he did not barely squeak that thing in. And, I think that's just where kickers are going in the NFL
I
right now.
agree. Yeah,
Because,
yeah, I do too.
I mean, the
I
field
do
goals are
too.
just getting longer and longer. I think it was in 2023. The record going in the season was 63 yards, and it got broken twice in a couple week span, and it ended the season at 66. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're starting to see more guys that are able to get into the high 60s, maybe even get a 70-yarder in an actual game.
Wow,
But that was definitely something that as soon as it happened, Cody texted me that, and uh, that was fun to be able to hear. In terms of what I got from the Steelers, they have to be better for their tackles, because their tackles looked rough. They have Broderick Jones on the left side, who was a first round pick in 2023. They have Troy Fatanu on the right side, who was a first round pick in 2024, and neither one of them looked very good. And you're blocking for Aaron Rodgers, who isn't as mobile anymore. He's 41 years old. You need to be able to have him protected on all sides.
Totally agree. The quarterback play for the Steelers was pretty good. With Skylar Thompson, man, he had a good efficient game. 20 for 28, to 233, three TDs. Man, that was good. Mason Rudolph, I think he'll end up taking that back up behind Rodgers as the season starts. But I was definitely impressed with Skylar Thompson. Um, with the running game. Um, I think Najee Harris. I'm not sure. Is he injured right now, or is he going to be ready for the beginning of
Najee
the
Harris is
season?
with the Chargers now. He's injured, but he's with the Chargers right now.
Who's the running game with the Steelers? Who they got?
They have Jalen Warren, and they have Caleb Johnson, who they drafted in the second round, third round out of Iowa last year.
They're going to need some help on that running game, man. With Rodgers, I'm surprised. I'm surprised that wasn't. Now I know they drafted, but man, I'm surprised there wasn't a push for something else on the running side. But it lets me know too, man. They went top heavy with getting Jalen Ramsey on the defensive side. So I mean, no, it makes sense. Typical Steeler. I get it. I get that. But I would have liked to have seen definitely more of a veteran running back with them. So I'll be definitely seeing how that goes. As far as that goes. But man, again, man, the Jaguars stole the show, man, with that kick. That was crazy, man. And I didn't think about it. You're right. I do think that we'll start seeing more kickers in those 60s for sure. But it does let me know too, man, like the defense and the intensity and physicality is only going to honestly rise because you're going to have to stop that offense a lot faster and further away, so they can't get in field goal range. So that's pretty. It was just pretty cool. It was pretty cool to see, man.
Yeah. So um, the next game we're gonna be talking
That
about is
was
the Titans and the Bucks, and this is another game that had a lot of intrigue just because it's the first overall pick playing this game, and the Bucks end up winning this game 29-7, and Cam Ward didn't necessarily play very well, but he looked like a guy that is still trying to figure out the timing with an NFL offense, which that it makes sense. Um, I think he was accurate. He just didn't really have the anticipation that he needed. There was a play earlier in the game where, and I think it brought down his quarterback grade a lot. There was a play that probably should have been picked where the
yep.
receiver should have just kind of sat down in the hole of the zone, and Cam should have thrown it to him there, and instead he kind of led him a little bit more towards the sidelines, and it went
hmm
right to a defender. He didn't pick it off, but he probably should have. Um, yeah, like I said, Cam didn't look good this game, but I have a lot of faith in Cam Ward as a player.
I do too, and I felt he did not start it well, but I do think his drives ended well. If he can in this week 2 start the way he finished this last game, oh man, like that's only going to help his confidence for sure. But I was definitely impressed with his arm strength and the accuracy. Like when he does need to get the ball there, when he makes the right read, man, I was man, he slings it, man, and right on. So I do know, like you mentioned earlier in the show, man, with the rookie quarterbacks, we got to give them time, development and that and reps, and I think definitely, with him. That definitely is all he needs because once him and Ridley get going and that offensive line can definitely hold it, man. Ridley and him, that connection is it's nice, man. I like it. I just again I agree with you. I don't think he played great. Numbers definitely didn't show it, but the passes that he did, the throws that he did make, were definitely they were oh, we see why we got you number one. We just got to tweak up a few things, and just get more reps, man. But he doesn't. And I said confidence earlier. He kind of falls in that Shadur's. They don't lack confidence. I just think they sometimes it's a different league, and the NFL's different than college. It's faster, man. And so once they just see how the players move, and I think they'll adjust. Again, the only thing that is a little um, I wouldn't say scary for them is I just want to see more against starters. See how that goes, especially with Cam Ward because he threw that one pass that was just an inch away from being intercepted, and I'm thinking like, man, against starters, man, that could be taken to the house. So decision making is something I know he's going to have to work on, but man, his potential is off the charts.
Yeah, and then as for the Bucks, the big thing that I got from them is uh, a little bit of, I guess, clarity or a little bit less clarity on their running back situation because Bucky
Okay,
Irving's the starter there. He didn't play.
right.
Um, you have Rashad White right now who is out for the preseason. He's dealing with an injury. I think he should be fine for the regular season, but you don't know. But
He
then Sean.
played.
Oh, did he play?
Yeah, he played. He had 6 carries, 28 yards. So no, he got some reps in. But I agree with you though on that. Like, yeah, like I like him. I like him.
Um, I thought I saw something saying that he was out for the preseason. Um,
Looks like on Monday. Looks like he got out
he was injured during the game.
during the game groin.
Yeah, maybe he that was just speculation on how long he's out because right now I'm seeing he's
Questionable.
taking it day by day, week by week. But a player that I did really get a lot out of from this game is Sean Tucker.
Mm,
We thought we might be seeing him a little bit more last year, and he had some flashes in some games, but he didn't really get a whole lot of an opportunity to perform. In this game, he had 50 rushing yards, but he had 53 yards after contact. So the offensive
mm,
line for the Bucks was not helping him out at all, but he was able to make the most out of it. I think he broke like
right.
5 tackles or something ridiculous like that in his limited playing time in this game. So, Bucky Irving is definitely the starter there, but
Yeah.
you might have a little bit of a committee behind him with Rashad White and Sean Tucker.
Yeah, man. I do. I agree with you with the running back situation. I do think I wasn't very clarity on who would who's going to be kind of getting those reps on there. So I was definitely when I heard about Rashad White getting hurt too, I was like, oh man, like that is going to be a big blow on the running back spot. Something else that I want to see more of is the receiving core on the Bucks. I know that with just what they have. I want to see. It looks like they had Ryan Miller. He had a pretty good game. He kind of comes off as a slot receiver to me. So I'll be excited to see how him and Baker can if he can get that get on that get some reps. I feel like Baker does definitely good with slot receivers. He has like one of those little baseball slinger arms throws. So he's definitely a better medium pass rather than a deep throw. Type of quarterback, and just being able to help Mike Evans and Chris Godwin on the outside. So that receiving core, I do think with Baker Mayfield, I'm excited to see their offensive line. I think when healthy is good, to establish the running game. So the Bucks healthy, I think, and Baker, being I don't know, you can argue a top 15 quarterback in the league if he can, if he can stay mature, if he can keep doing what he did ending last year. The Bucks. I'm excited to see how the Bucks, turn out this year.
Yeah. So going to the next game, we had the Jets versus the Packers, and the Jets won this game 30-10.
Yeah.
I think the big thing that people are looking at in this game is Justin Fields.
Hmm.
And again, Justin Fields ended up doing probably what we expected him to. He took what the defense gave him. He was doing pretty well short underneath passes. Uh, he was doing good with passes over the middle. Didn't really throw that well outside the numbers, but he also scrambled and made plays with his legs. There was a play that went kind of viral when he ran in for that touchdown with Isaiah Davis, the running back, going out on that I believe it was a wheel route, and he ended up kind of deking the linebacker who was in man coverage on him, making him think that the ball was in the air, that he was about to catch it, and then Fields was just running behind him in the end zone. Um, as and then their offensive line played pretty well too. They looked good in pass blocking, and this whole team played really aggressive. I think that's something that Dan Campbell really kind of talks about a lot in Detroit, and now Aaron Glenn coming over there, coming over to New York from Detroit. I think that's something that he's really taking with him. So I think this was a good game on the Jets side.
I do too, man. Emery Hart, he stood out to me. That's definitely on that defensive line. I thought he came out real hungry, man, real aggressive. It looks like he had that fumble recovery as you mentioned, for sure for the touchdown. But man, just getting off the ball, that was I was impressed with I know Williams is a starter over there, but he'll definitely be Emery. I don't know if they can play them both, but he'll definitely be definitely in that backup role for sure. I'll tell you also that stood out to me was too many penalties. Man, there was a lot of penalties in that game, and I when a team like that that's doing penalties of that nature, especially that many, roughing the passer, and just little things like that, it's going to potentially cost them games. And with their offense being a little limited to me, it's only going to have their defense out there even longer to where the offense is going to feel more pressure to have to put up points. And I don't think they have that capability to do that, at this time anyway. So I do hope they get those penalties and those things together to allow that defense a chance, honestly. But that's one thing I did know. And I know it's preseason, and this is where you get the kinks out and get your rhythm together. But that stood out to me out of all the games that the Jets had a lot more turnovers and penalties than any other game I watched.
Yeah, and that's just kind of been something that the Jets have been struggling with for the last few years. I believe last year they were one of the most penalized teams in the NFL. So they still have some kinks to work out, but like I said, overall, I think it was a pretty good game for them. As for the Packers, I mean, there's not really a whole lot to say. They didn't really play
Yeah, they
a
didn't play
lot
really
of
nice.
their starters.
Right.
But something that two players that really stuck out to me at two positions that the Packers really need players to step up on is Tyron Hopper, who he I was a fan of his from Mizzou just because he went to Mizzou,
Oh yeah.
uh, but I didn't really expect him to be a guy that was going to get a whole lot of playing time in the NFL.
Right.
He looked really good in that first game, where he might end up getting a little bit of playing time in some sort of rotation, or just being able to have uh, a little bit more faith in getting guys like Edrin Cooper, Quay Walker, Isaiah McDuffie, those guys off their feet. And then another guy that I looked at that played really well was Kalen King. And the Packers desperately need someone to be able to step up in this cornerback room, especially with losing Jair to the Ravens.
Hmm.
Uh, right now, they're dealing with Nate Hobbs as their Nate Hobbs and Keyshawn Nixon as their starters, and then they've got guys like Carrington Valentine, who he's supposed to be playing in the nickel. Bo Melton, I think, is going to be getting a lot of playing time at corner, which is really rough considering he was a wide receiver last year. So, you know, Packers didn't really play a whole lot of their starters, but hopefully they're going to be able to get something from their depth pieces.
Totally agree with you on that. I know their first rounder pick was his name Matthew Golden.
Mhm.
I know he didn't play much, but I'm excited to see how he turns out. I do think that they needed some help on that receiving side. I did read a report that Jordan Love had a taped thumb, so I'm hoping that's nothing serious. But you know how the thumb goes on the football. Especially the throwing hand that can not be serious, but just something to keep an eye on. I do see that it looks like the Packers, it looks like they drafted defense this year too, man. They really went, they got Baron Coral at the edge rusher out of Texas. They went and got Colin Oliver, linebacker, Oklahoma State. Warren Brenton, D tackle out of Georgia. Micah Robinson, 7th round pick out of Tulane, and John Williams, looks like offensive tackle out of Cincinnati. So it definitely looks like they definitely picked a couple pieces on our offensive line to protect Jordan Love, and then as well as getting that defense rocking and rolling, because as we mentioned, that NFC North is going to be it's going to be tough. So just having some big boys up front is going to be important.
Yeah. Uh, so next we're going to move on to the Chiefs versus Cardinals. Sorry, and the Cardinals end up winning this game 20-17. Um, something that the biggest thing that stuck out to me for this game on the Chiefs side is that left side of the offensive line, because they did end up playing their starters
Right.
on the offensive line in this game. Josh Simmons and Mike Caliendo looked really good at that left tackle, left guard spot, and it should be very comforting to Chiefs fans knowing that guys like that are going to be protecting Patrick Mahomes' blind side, uh, especially with Josh Simmons coming off of a knee injury. Uh, you really you really like to see the progression that he's getting.
hmm
Yeah. What about you? What's some things that you got from this game?
Man, I was disappointed in the Cardinals, man. I just did not like. I didn't like the way they came out. I feel like Kyle Murray. And I don't pick on the shorter QBs, but man, I don't know if sometimes those have a play in being able to really see, man. But I can't remember the exact play, but man, I remember like he literally just he threw it right to the linebacker, and I can't remember his name on Kansas City, but it was just a bad read. And then I believe the first play of the game was a fumble off the kickoff. And sometimes when something like that starts, that can just transpire to the whole way of the game. I just didn't think Arizona was focused. I don't know, and I just didn't like the way Murray galvanized the troops. Man, it's just something about Arizona, because on paper they are good, but putting it on the field, man, I haven't seen that. And I know last year getting Marvin Harrison Jr. I thought that would kind of really take them up, as far as a weapon to throw to. It didn't seem like I didn't really see much out of them last year. Now I do think that the offensive line improving that is something that was probably going to help Kyler for sure. It looks like I don't see they did any offensive line, movement, but they did help that defensive line. They drafted all defense, but they drafted all defense, man, in this draft, all defense. So I guess that lets me know like kind of where they're headed, but at the same time, it lets me know that is the faith in Kyle Murray? Do they have faith that they can put points on the board? Is he not going to turn it over? That definitely stuck out to me. I just wasn't impressed with the Cardinals' performance from the kickoff.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people were clowning Kyler Murray over that one throw. I think for the rest of the game, he didn't. For the rest of the game, he didn't do anything like awful. He was
Yeah,
just kind of
that's
fine
true.
the whole rest of the game. And I think this is going to be a big year for Kyler Murray. I think
Yeah.
this is kind of going to be the year that the Cardinals need to decide what they're going to do with him, because there's been a lot of question marks throughout his career. And when you're taking a guy first overall, you want to give him as much of a chance to succeed as possible.
Oh yeah.
And he hasn't been bad by any means, but he
No, not
has
bad.
that player that can really bring them over the top.
Yeah,
Uh,
I agree.
so you know, you we'll see what we're going to get from Kyler Murray this year. Um, Randall, I just realized we completely skipped a game.
Who's
Uh,
that?
we skipped the Cowboys and the Rams.
Uh-oh.
So the Rams end up beating the Cowboys in that game 31-21. And there was a guy on the Cowboys O line who uh, had been one of the better players in college football for the last basically his whole career. That not a lot of people are really giving a whole lot of flowers because he's one of the smaller offensive linemen you'll ever see. His name's
Hmm.
Willie Lampkin. Uh, 5'11" and 290 pounds, playing guard. That's he's not really the size profile that you'd like to see from an NFL guard,
Right.
but he really impressed. He was able to use his size or his lack of size to his advantage, getting a lot of really good leverage in that run game.
Right.
And, did I say Cowboys? He plays for the Rams, uh, or the Rams offensive line,
Right.
uh, and the Rams were able to get a lot from this running game, and a lot of that had to do with the game that Willie Lampkin had. I don't know if he's going to make the team necessarily, but he should. And he's not probably not going to be a starter on this Rams offensive line. But again, when you're talking about a guy who for the last couple years has been graded as one of the best offensive linemen in college football, you want to be able to give that guy a chance. And so seeing him perform really well is nice to see.
I agree. I was excited to even know about what Joe Milton was gonna, how he was gonna, look in the Cowboys. I remember in the offseason them getting them, and man, when I first looked at him, I was like, dude, that dude looks like a receiver, man. Like that dude was he was built
Like
up.
a tight
He's
end.
huh?
Looked like a tight end.
Yeah, that dude's big, man. So I was like, man, he's QB. So I was excited. I was excited just for the Cowboys and just possibly honestly just getting Dak some competition in there. Having his hands sweat a little bit. I think he needs that. And I thought Joe did okay. His throwing, his accuracy is a little. It showed me, his accuracy is not Dak level. His athletic ability is there and getting out the pocket, yes, but decision making and accuracy was definitely needs some, some improvement. He hurried a little bit. That's why I seen he threw a pick, and that was just hurrying, being rushed. So I still was impressed with him though, as far as being a backup, as far as being somebody that can come in. Dak doesn't have the best. Injury. I mean, he sometimes gets those nicks and bumps in the road in a little bit and misses a game, two or three there. So I think they have somebody that's a little bit. And forgive me, who was back up last year? It may have been Cooper Rush,
It was Cooper
but
Rush.
okay, just a little bit elevated, better backup than that to being able to be a dual threat, keep the defense on their toes. So I like that pickup by the Cowboys, and I liked what I seen from Joe. I was. I'm concerned about the Rams and Stafford's back. I don't know really where he's at with that. I hope he's ready for the beginning of the season. Um, they need him. As far I think if without him being there at the start of the season, they'll definitely rely on that defense. But I think with Stafford though, man, and and there was a guy by the name of I seen too Nate Versell, man. He rookie out of Northern Illinois. I know people of him, so he was somebody that I just looked in the box score. A lot of people that I know of, man. I just try to I look at them in the box score and just say I know of them or I know them. I think that's pretty cool. But I thought he did good, man. He had 10 tackles in that game. So, he's definitely fighting for a roster spot as a safety, 10 tackles, man. He's getting in there. He's hard nosed. He's flying up there on the line, man. So that was definitely um, And I'm sorry, he did not have 10 tackles. He had 5 tackles. But
Okay.
just as a safety man coming up there, man, I thought that was good.
Yeah. Whenever it comes to the Cowboys side, Joe Milton kind of looked like the Joe Milton from Tennessee, which you need more of if he's a
Yeah.
guy that you like. You need more of him than what he was in Tennessee if you're going to be able to rely, like you're going to want to rely on him or put any sort of pressure on Dak. Last year in his game that he played with the Patriots, he looked really good,
Yeah.
uh, but he didn't really look the best in this game.
No.
Uh, so you hope that you're gonna get a little bit more from him. Right now, he's competing with Will Greer for the backup spot right now in Dallas. And the biggest thing that I got from the Cowboys is their interior defensive line. It just needs to be better. Um, they were getting pushed off the line pretty easily. They got Mozzie Smith, they got Osa Digizua, uh, Solomon Thomas, Jalen Toya. None of those guys really performed all that well. And whenever you're competing in a division like the NFC East with, the Giants are going to be
Hmm.
running a decent amount, but then you got the Commanders who are going to be running heavy. You got the Eagles who are going to be running heavy
Right.
behind one of the best offensive lines we've seen in a long time. So it's going to be really important for the Cowboys front seven to be able to do something in the run game, but especially with their interior defensive line, they didn't really show a whole lot to me with that. Um,
Nope. I totally agree, man.
yeah, so next we're going to move on to the Broncos and the 49ers. Um, the I didn't end up writing down the score for this game, but no one cares about the score. Uh, the the big thing that I got from this game is that Broncos secondary is gonna be ridiculous. I mean,
They're gonna be good. Yep.
You know about Patrick Surtain. He's the reigning defensive player of the year. But then you
Right.
look at the rest of this secondary. He's got Riley Moss playing opposite of him, who didn't really uh, play the best in this game, but he's a good player and he's gonna have his chance to play, improve. Either he can do it or he can't do it. But then a big guy that stood out to me for his performance uh, in their first preseason game was Chris Abrams Drain. I remember watching him a lot when he was at Mizzou as well, and I really thought he was going to be a guy that was going to have potential to make an impact in the NFL. And I
Right.
think Chris Abrams Drain is going to, if Riley Moss ends up struggling like he did in this first game, I think he's a guy that you might look at to take over that starting spot.
Hmm.
And, will that happen? We'll have to see. But I'm always excited whenever I see Mizzou guys being able to perform like that. And then you can even look at their safety core. They've got Talanoa Hufunga, who came over from the 49ers. You got Brandon Jones at that other safety spot. They've got a really good linebacking core, bringing in Dre Greenlaw, and they also have Nick Benito and Alex Singleton. Uh, they've got Zach Allen, DJ Jones, John Franklin Myers, Jonathan Cooper uh, up in the on the defensive line. Like, I think the biggest thing you like about this team is their secondary, but they have a pretty good
And
defense
it,
all around.
nope, I totally agree, man. Totally agree with you. I was looking more at the running back play, man. I like to look at I like to see the yard, how many times you got it, and your carries, man, and just kind of where you when you got it, what did you do with it, and what stood out to me was Blake Watson out of Memphis, just a speedy, hard nosed type of running back, but he's averaging 7 yards a carry. and I know it wasn't against San Francisco's starters, but just those little things I like to see. And I know we mentioned about Broncos defense, but their offensive line is definitely improving. And I think with when the season starts with Bo Nix, man, the running game is gonna is I think they're gonna rely heavily on that running game, do with that offensive line and then that defense, that secondary, like you mentioned, man, is gonna be they're gonna be fast, man. We know Sean Payton's heavy on offense, so I'm excited to see kind of how he. Now, let me make sure Sean Payton's still with the Broncos, right?
He is, yes.
Ah, there we go. There we go. All right, just making sure. Yeah. But man, and when we go to the Niners, man, I tell you, I was a little disappointed in Mac Jones. I felt like now I know Purdy, he's locked in there, but man, I just wanted more from Mac. I just think he didn't end well with, in my opinion, with New England. I just didn't like the way that ended. So I just wanted to see a different. I just wanted to see more. I just wanted to see his placement on the ball. I wanted to see more confidence in his receivers. I think he's limited because he's really not getting out the pocket. I think he stays in the pocket a little too long. Had 2 sacks on him, so he's staying in there a little bit too long, not getting out. So again, I know it's not too much to worry about because we know it's Purdy, but with the way these defenses are improving with speed and physicality and getting to the quarterback, if you're not dual and not being able to kind of make a miss a little bit, and we're standing in there, you're kind of you are more at risk. And I'm not saying Purdy can't get out the pocket, but I look at those type of quarterbacks and I say, well, okay, if something does happen, who's coming in, that can really hold the offense down. And so I wasn't really impressed with Mac. I was really kind of wanting to see what he'll do. So that's kind of what I took away with that game. I already knew defensive wise, man, Broncos, man. I thought them this year with that defense, with Sean Payton holding that offense. I think that and Bo, and I just think they are on the up and up. They're my sleeper team, man, out the AFC.
Yeah, I mean, I they were a team that made the playoffs last year, and I definitely think they can take a step up from that and potentially win
I
a
do too.
playoff game or two. Um, something that really concerns me when it ever comes to the 49ers is I just don't think their defense played all that well, and I especially look at the rookies that they have on their defense because right now
Yeah,
they have, for one, they have a decimated defense right now in terms of injuries. None of them seem super serious. They have a lot of questions in terms of their injured players, and you look at what might end up turning into the starting defensive line on this team, depending on how their defensive tackles, Kevin Givens and Jordan Elliott, depending on how they're able to, if they're going to be ready for the beginning of the season.
Michael
Um,
Williams.
yeah, Michael Williams didn't look amazing. He was their first round pick this year out of Georgia. You look at their defensive tackles, C.J. West and Alfred Collins. All those guys, they just seemed like they were driven off the line a little bit too easy. Now, granted, this was against the Broncos' starting offensive line,
Yeah.
and the Sean Payton likes to play his starters in the preseason,
Yep.
and the Broncos, like you said, have a really good offensive line. But you especially if you're going to be relying on these guys to have a decent amount of playing time, you'd like to be able to see more from them, especially if
Yeah.
you're going to have Nick Bosa and three rookies starting on your defensive line. Um, but yeah, from there, we're going to go to the Dolphins and the Bears, and this is another game that ended in a tie. Uh, this was 24-24, and you know, a big thing that concerned me is I feel like you needed to see something from either Zach Wilson or Quinn Ewers in this game because, again, you question the durability of Tua, and they
Yep.
both looked awful. They were, you can tell they were very they didn't want to take a whole lot of risks in this game. They didn't really throw the ball down the field too much. They were inconsistent with their accuracy. They didn't have a whole lot of pocket presence. They were holding on the ball too long. I think they combined for 10 for 27 between the two of them passing, and they both had 6 sacks, or they had a total of 6 sacks taken.
Yeah,
Um, the Dolphins really need Tua to stay healthy, which he's only played 17 games, I believe, once in his career. So I would be very concerned if I were the Dolphins,
I would be too.
especially considering last episode that we had. Um, I talked about how concerned I am about their defense, specifically about their secondary, with not having a whole lot of consistency on who is back there. But their defensive line, they did look really good in this game. And I have a lot of faith in this defensive line. They have Chop Robinson and Bradley Chubb coming off the edge. They've got Jordan Phillips, Kenneth Grant, Zach Seiler, Benito Jones, all these guys. They're good players. I just don't know if them having a good defensive line is going to be enough,
I agree.
especially considering, like I said, Zach Wilson and Quinn Ewers didn't look very good against the Bears' backup defense.
I agree. Totally agree, man. Everything you said on that, man. I did want to. I honestly wanted to see more starters on the Dolphins play a little longer. I did need to see Tua a little bit more, just for the fact of the drama that Tyreek Hill definitely stirred up, and just again, I'm about building the camaraderie and building those reps together, and just kind of getting on board, man. Especially with Tua too, man. Like as far as making sure he's confident and just getting a sense for that. But I understand in his case for sure. I'm really surprised he even got any reps just due to his history. So just to see him get some reps, I was surprised, but I just wish it was more. I guess I can't have it both ways, but I would have liked to seen them in a little bit more full force. Especially with the Bears, man, being without a couple of like what they were out their top corner, Jalen Johnson, he's out. That's gonna hurt the Bears. They need him to be ready to go. I wanted to see a little bit out of Caleb Williams. I didn't think he's had the best preseason. I've heard reports in training camp, that just they've had to kick him out of practice or shut practice down, or just hey, he's just not good right now, man. He's just not making the good reads. He's not making good throws. I think he kind of does come in kind of prima donna. I think he thinks that he's a little arrogant in a way, just the way he goes about. I've even gone as much as far as like, man, he kind of does he really want to be in Chicago? Like he kind of comes off like that to me. I want to see what they do. I do think all healthy. Their offense is good. I'm happy that they got Luther Burden out of St. Louis, Mizzou. I'm glad they got him. Um, I hope that he can. And I actually think he'll probably be getting some reps over there on that receiving core. I know he's not above DJ Moore or Rome Adunzi, but I like him as far as that rookie pickup they got him. But as far as their defense, if their defense on the Bears side, man, can stay healthy, that's who I predict that will help them stay in the games, and not rely so much on Caleb Williams' decision making. Not saying he can't, but I think that defense can take a lot of pressure off of that offense.
Yeah, and the biggest player that stood out to me in terms of this game on either team is Austin Booker. Austin
Mm.
Booker, he's a fifth round pick this past year out of Kansas, and he's not a starter. I believe the only starter that the
Oh yeah,
Bears
Dan.
end up playing was Tyreek Stevenson, but Austin Booker had 3 sacks in this game,
Hmm.
and if you can have him, along with they have Montez Sweat and Grady Jarrett and Dio Odeyingbo, uh, and Jervon
Daniel
Dexter
Hardy.
up at the front. Uh, they have Tremaine Edmonds, T.J. Edwards, in the linebacking core.
Yeah.
Uh, they, they ended up uh, taking Noah Sewell in the late rounds a couple years ago. I still think Noah Sewell is a guy that can be pretty good. I like this Bears front seven.
Yeah. I do too. Hey man, that Austin Booker, I didn't know, man. That's a big boy, 6'6", 245. Oh yeah. I see what you mean. I see what you mean, Kyle.
Yeah,
And he had that forced fumble in there, so he's got them long arms. Oh yeah, he's getting to
that's
him.
true. I forgot about the forced fumble.
Yeah, he's getting in there.
Um, yeah, so we have one game left to talk about, and that was the Saints and the Chargers. Um, the Chargers ended up winning this game 27-13, and I think the biggest thing that you have to question from this game is the Saints quarterback. Obviously
Yeah.
they don't have Derek Carr. He ended up retiring this year. And so now they are going into a quarterback battle with Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shuck. Um, and, you know, neither one of them really looked, again, they both looked they were both very conservative with the ball. Neither one of them seemed like they
Hmm.
wanted to go downfield. There was a lot of check downs. Tyler Shuck specifically had, some good, but also a lot of bad. Um, he
Yeah.
had a nice TD on a go route during one of his drives, but then on another one of his drives, he basically stared down a receiver and ended up turning into a pick six. It it just wasn't good. Reports out of training camp say that Spencer Rattler is probably going to end up being the starter, but they're still competing. Um, I don't know. I don't like what that means for the Saints offense this year.
I agree. I really wasn't. Yeah, I know. Totally agree. And looks like they got Chris Olave. He's questionable out. So that doesn't hurt. I mean, that hurts. Brandon Brooks. He'll definitely have to step up on that receiving side. But again, like as far as the QB being up for air, that makes it difficult. Player that stood out to me that looks like he did his thing on that receiving core was Mason Tipton. That one reception 54-yard TD, man. It looks like he got after it on that. Now, did we go back to him? No, but that's just lets with the quarterback play, just inexperience. But at the same time, it shows good promise with that. I don't know why there wasn't more action going towards him as far as this one look, one reception, so that's shaky. But it kind of goes back to your point. That offense, I think, is just so they don't know really what they want to do. So I'm definitely on board with you. I'm just don't know what they're doing, and probably part of it is just they don't know really what the QB situation yet. So that can definitely play a part into just rhythm and just having that rhythm with other receivers. Something that the player that did disappoint me a little, no, player that did disappoint me was Trey Lance. I had high expectations for Trey, man. Just he's better than what these numbers show, man. And I don't know, I just don't know what it's about. Being that first round pick, third pick on top of that. I felt when he got to San Francisco, like as far as being a mobile quarterback, 6'4", 226, solid guy. And just he did good at North Dakota State. Again, they're in Western Illinois is the conference, so I know I seen him a little bit, but I just I was disappointed a little bit. I see he's relying a little bit more on his legs, not as confident throwing the ball right now. Now, granted, they didn't play a lot of their starters, but I know he's not over Justin Herbert. We know that, but again, this week showed me on the backup QB side, measuring wise and as far as an injury happens, is Trey Lance, is he holding the Chargers together? On the offensive side, no. I feel like they'll rely heavy on the defense to keep them afloat. But that also is what's going to make the Chargers good this year to me. I think they're good on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, and Trey Lance is even competing right now for that backup spot because they also have Taylor Heineke going. Um,
Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you. Oh yeah, oh yeah.
yeah, Trey Lance is it's unfortunate to see where his career has gone, but and I don't really think he's ever going to be able to shake that backup
I
role.
don't either. No, me either.
But they do have a really good offense. Obviously, with Justin Herbert, you learned earlier in this episode that they signed Najee Harris. Uh,
Yeah,
they, and
yeah.
they also drafted Amarion Hampton, who may end up taking a lot of those starting reps, especially if Najee can't come back quickly from his injury that he's currently dealing with. Um, as for the receiving core, they re-signed Keenan Allen. They have Lad McConkey.
Yeah.
Uh, you don't know what you have with Quentin Johnson. Uh, they have a good team, but it hurts knowing that they had just lost Rashawn Slater.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Rashawn Slater out for the year with a torn patella.
Yep, torn patella.
You're dealing with, Joe Alt being that starting left tackle now this year, with Trey Pipkins playing opposite of him. Um, that that really hurts the Chargers.
Oh, it hurts that running game for sure, man. No, no,
This
it
is
that hurts. That
this is
hurts,
a
man.
top tier offensive lineman that you're
Yeah.
losing.
Yep.
But something that I do want to point out about the Chargers in this game is the fact that their rookies that they had playing on defense this week, all of them went off. You look at Eric Rodgers. He had 0 catches allowed. He had 2 picks. One of them was a pick six. He performed extremely well. R.J. Mickens had 1 catch allowed. He had a pass breakup. He had a forced fumble. Jamari Caldwell had a sack. You know, this week was a pretty rough week for the Chargers. Again, just
Yeah.
because of the Rashawn Slater injury. But, you look at what they did on the field, and they played pretty well.
No, I agree with you. Did you mention Jamari Caldwell? You may have. I didn't hear you.
Yeah, Jamari
As far
Caldwell,
as
he
that
ended up getting
rookie,
a sack in that
yeah,
game. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So, we talked about all the games. We talked about 16 games. Obviously, we ran a little long in this episode, but we're as as we get closer to the regular season, we're gonna have a lot more excitement to talk about. A lot more guys that are actually starting.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
and again, hopefully, as time goes on, we'll get better with this. I'll learn how to not stumble over my words. Randall will learn who's on what team.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. I eventually will get it.
yeah, but you know, again, that's the fun part about this is at the end of the day, the reason why we do this is because we love talking about sports.
We
And
do.
uh, again, hopefully, as we continue to go along, the content will get better.
You got it.
The content will be a lot more expansive, and we're going to continue to have a good time regardless.
You
So,
got that right, bro.
uh, if you guys stuck through this 2-hour episode, thank you guys for joining us. We really, again, like I said, we really appreciate your support. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're listening on Spotify, do whatever you're supposed to do on Spotify.
You got it. Yep, you got it, man. We appreciate you guys.
What that is. I know subscribing, downloading our stuff, giving us a 5-star review, all that stuff is really going to help us. And I believe our next episode, I'm going to be back on with Cody talking about more baseball. And then, like I
Oh,
said, on Friday,
baseball, baby.
Aaron, yeah. And then on Friday, Aaron is finally going to be making his debut on the channel, and we are going to be talking about all the stuff
Hey,
in the UFC. So, thank you guys
let's
for
go.
joining us. And we will see you next time.
Later.